Welcome back to Grade 8 Geography, Unit Number 2, Global Inequalities, Economic Development and Quality of Life. This is Lesson Number 20, How does Land Ownership Affect Quality of Life? Before we begin today's lesson, let's consider the following. How can owning land improve a person's quality of life? So please put the video on pause so you can write down your response to this question. How can owning land improve a person's quality of life? All right, and now you've written down your answers to this question, we will go over your answers in tomorrow's class. So let's proceed. Owning land can improve a person's wealth and quality of life. People can earn money by charging rent for the use of their land. Some people farm the land and sell the fruits and vegetables that they grow. Others may clear the land to build a business. Over 500 million people living in developing countries do not own the land they live on. Some people have to pay rent for the farmland. Many work for the landowners. They tend to be underpaid and are forced to work under unfair conditions. As a result, many of these poor farmers move to cities to find better jobs. When they get to the cities, they have no money and are forced to move into slums. As we learned earlier, quality of life in slums is very poor. Also, the legal owner of the land can bulldoze the slums whenever they want, without notice. Shared ownership of land is one way for people to benefit from the land's resources. Citizens have the right to benefit from the resources on their shared lands. The government has a right to use the land's resources to improve the quality of life of its citizens. As well, everyone has a responsibility to use resources sustainably. Just remembering our principles of sustainability, the economy, society, and environment, they're all connected and they all need to be healthy. If one suffers, so do the others. Only 11% of Canada's land is privately owned. The rest is owned by the federal government, 41%, and the provincial governments, 48%, on behalf of Canadian citizens. This government-owned land is called Crown land. The government makes money by charging companies fees for extracting natural resources from Crown land. The fees are used to improve Canadians' quality of life. And just looking at this picture here, the federal government used revenue from resource development to build the Trans-Canada Highway, which connects Canadians from coast to coast. Sometimes a country will sell its landed resources to other countries. Companies from more developed countries are buying more and more land and resources in developing countries. This is known as foreign ownership. Foreign ownership allows companies to acquire resources that they do not have in their own countries. Foreign ownership has benefits and drawbacks. Some developing countries sell their land to foreign businesses in order to boost their economies. Foreign companies pay taxes, invest money, and provide jobs. They may also bring in new technology that benefits the citizens of developing countries. A major drawback of foreign ownership is that owners usually take products and profits out of the country. A foreign company may also destroy entire ecosystems in order to build their businesses. This causes a loss of biodiversity. Also, communities may lose their livelihoods and houses. Foreign owners should be responsible for how they impact the country that they take resources from. They should also be responsible for helping to improve quality of life in that country. Some foreign companies do act responsibly. For example, one Canadian mining company in Peru has made its development goal to build and supply 60 schools for the region in which it is operating. This goal is expected to be reached in 2015. The school will benefit 6,000 children. Not all Canadian mining companies are so responsible, however. The Working Group on Mining and Human Rights in Latin America studied 22 Canadian mining companies in Latin America. The research showed that the company's practices had many negative impacts, such as social unrest, loss of land, and environmental damage. And this picture here, these indigenous or native protesters from Guatemala are protesting what they call a Canadian mining company's illegal occupation and destruction of their land. In their rush to grow their economies, many governments have continued to ignore the historic rights of Native peoples to their traditional lands. That's the original land the natives lived on. Historically, the Canadian government forced many First Nations to move from their traditional lands onto reserves. These reserves have lacked vital resources, such as clean drinking water. As a result, many First Nations peoples found their quality of life significantly lowered. Over the last 45 years, a growing number of land claims have been made by different First Nations. The government has also been pressured to find solutions to issues such as poverty, alcoholism, and high infant mortality rates on native reserves. So here's a true or false activity to finish off today's lesson. You will need to put the video on pause so that you can read each sentence carefully and then decide whether the statement is true or false. If you do not feel comfortable in doing this activity right now, you need to go back and watch this video at least 2 more times because we will take up this activity at the start of tomorrow's class. So put the video on pause. And until tomorrow's class, this concludes today's video.